The moment I saw that message flash across Dante's lock screen, "Boss, I miss you, heart." My heart didn't just drop, it cracked. Right there in the middle of our spotless Buckhead kitchen, the smell of simmering oxtails filling the air like some cruel joke, my whole marriage felt like it tilted sideways. And the worst part, I recognized the name instantly. Tiana. The new intern he swore was barely old enough to drink, who looked up to him like a mentor, who was just trying to learn the ropes. Right, learn the ropes. That girl wasn't studying corporate strategy. She was studying my husband. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I didn't even blink. Instinct took over. The kind that comes from a black woman's gut when something ain't right, but you've been ignoring the signs for too long. I picked up his phone, unlocked it with the code I'd known for years. He'd been bold enough not to change it, and typed back, "Come over. My wife isn't home today." My hands were steady. Too steady. That's how I knew something deep in me had snapped. I deleted the whole thread. The evidence, the emoji, the lie. Then I slid the phone right back where he left it, next to the pot he was stirring like everything in our lives was normal. I watched Dante hum to himself, sprinkling green onions over oxtails like he wasn't out here humiliating me. The doorbell rang 20 minutes later. Dante froze. "Babe, you expecting somebody?" "No," I said, wiping my hands on the towel. "Are you?" He shook his head confused. But the deeper his frown got, the more I felt this cold, calm righteousness filling me up. I walked toward the door slow, like I was stepping into a church, like the truth was waiting behind it. And when I opened it, there she was. Tiana. Twisted wig, too bright lip gloss, shaky smile holding a single cupcake like she thought she was starring in some cheap romance movie. Her face dropped when she saw me. It dropped even lower when she saw Dante over my shoulder. "Oh, I must have the wrong," she stuttered. "No, baby. You're exactly where you think you are. Come on in." I stepped aside. That girl did not want to move. She glanced at Dante, whose whole body looked like it was trying to evaporate. But I wasn't asking. I was telling. And after a long second of pure terror, Tiana stepped inside. I shut the door behind her. Why is she here?" Dante whispered, voice shaking. "I invited her," I replied. He blinked at me like I'd slapped him. Tiana looked like she wanted to suffocate herself with her own purse. I just walked right past both of them and headed to the kitchen. "Have a seat," I told her, pointing to the dining chair across from mine. "We're all adults. Let's talk." She sat down like she was lowering herself into a police interrogation room. While Dante hovered behind her like a ghost, I pulled out my fine china, white porcelain with real gold trim, the set my mama passed down to me when I got married. I set 2 plates and 2 wine glasses for me and Dante. Then I went to the pantry and grabbed the cheapest disposable plastic cup we had, translucent and flimsy. I set it in front of her. The humiliation hit her instantly. I saw the shame rise up her neck like heat. Then I smiled again. "Water?" She nodded. "Good." I poured water into her cup, then poured wine into 2 crystal glasses for me and Dante. I watched her eyes flick between them, between the life she wanted and the one she actually had. "Now," I said, folding my hands, "let's have a calm conversation." Dante broke first. "Nia, please, this isn't what you think." "Oh, so you didn't text her to come over?" I asked, tilting my head. That's when Tiana's eyes widened. Like her last 3 brain cells finally started connecting. You sent the message," she whispered. "I sure did. Surprised you fell for it. But then again, desperate girls don't ask many questions." Dante put his head in his hands. "Nia, please don't do this." "Do what?" I asked. "Have a conversation about loyalty, our marriage, our assets, our future children. You know, grown folks' business." Tiana's lip quivered. I don't I didn't know he was serious with anyone. You work in HR. You saw my photo on the employee spouses board. Try another lie. She flinched. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. See, the thing about being a side chick is you have to at least be smart. You didn't even bother to check who you were playing with. Dante whispered, Nia, please stop. I didn't. I talked about the condo, the lake house, the joint investments, the fertility appointments we'd been planning. I talked about everything tying our lives together, every detail reminding Tiana that she was nothing but a temporary thrill he wanted to keep hidden under cheap perfume. Her hands shook. She looked at Dante with disgust, betrayal, like she was mad he didn't choose her. That part almost made me laugh. But the best moment, the one I had been waiting for, was when she finally whispered, voice cracking, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I don't want any trouble. I stood. Good. Then leave. She grabbed her purse so fast she almost fell over her heels. She bolted toward the elevator, and before the doors closed, she looked at me one last time. That look said she'd never play with a married black woman's life again. When the door shut, I locked the condo door behind her. Then I turned to Dante. He was sweating, pale, stuttering. Nia, baby, please. I grabbed his phone and smashed it on the kitchen tiles. His breath hitched. Then I lifted the pot of oxtails he had cooked with so much fake tenderness and dumped the entire thing in the trash, sauce splattering like a crime scene. That's when I said it. Dante, tonight is the end of us, and you're going to pay for what you did. Every dollar, every lie, every humiliation. His eyes filled with dread. Good. Because I wasn't even close to done. Dante stood there shaking, like the floor was about to open up and swallow him whole. And honestly, I wished it would. After everything I had just watched, after seeing that girl standing at my front door with her cheap cupcake and cheaper intentions, I felt something deep inside me settle. Not peace, not anger, something colder, sharper, like clarity. I didn't buy her anything, Dante said finally, voice trembling. I didn't respond. Not yet. I walked past him to the living room where I kept the folder, a little blue folder my mama always told me to keep for just in case. Back then, I used it for vacation plans, restaurant menus, tax receipts. Tonight, I filled it with something else. Screenshots, bank statements, receipts, proof. I dropped the folder onto the dining table. It hit the wood with a loud thud, and Dante flinched like it was the sound of a gun. What is that? He whispered. Your life? I said. I opened the folder slowly, like I was presenting evidence in court. And in a way, I was. I slid a few papers across the table. Movie tickets, 3 different dates at the luxury cinema, restaurant charges, ones he claimed were client meetings, Lyft rides, flowers, a hotel. And then, worst of all, the charge from the company credit card. Corporate funds, his company's money. I watched the realization hit him like a slow-motion car crash. Nia, baby, listen, please, I can explain. No, you can't. Because you didn't just cheat on me, you stole from your own employer to do it. He froze. That's not what it looks like. It was just once. I swear. She said she forgot her wallet and, oh, so you're a gentleman thief now, stealing for a woman who wouldn't even drink out of a real glass in my house? His face twisted with shame. Good. I continued, pointing to the receipts. You think I just sit here and look pretty? I saw the notifications. I matched the dates. You weren't slick. He swallowed hard. Nia, please, let's just talk. Don't do anything crazy. Crazy? I laughed. Baby, I haven't even started. His shoulders dropped. His eyes darted toward the smashed phone on the tiled floor. He looked like a man finally understanding the depth of the hole he dug. Then he whispered something so pathetic, it almost made me feel sorry for him. "Can we fix this?" "Fix?" I repeated. "Dante, you shattered us, and then you danced in the pieces." He sat down in the chair Tiana had been sitting in earlier. The irony wasn't lost on me. Same seat, same shame. "I'll go to therapy," he said desperately. "We can go together. We can—" "No," I cut him off. "Sit there, be quiet, and listen." I reached into the folder again and pulled out a single sheet of paper, a printout of the $40,000 loan my parents gave us when Dante lost his job 2 years ago, the loan he promised, swore he'd pay back little by little, the loan he joked about like it was optional. I placed the paper in front of him. "You're going to pay every penny you owe my parents," I said quietly. "Every single dollar." He blinked rapidly. I don't have that kind of money." "You should have thought about that before you spent company funds on side chick movie nights." His breath hitched. "We can find a way. I'll pick up extra hours." "You won't have any hours." I leaned in. "Not after tomorrow." He looked up sharply. "What does that mean?" I didn't answer. Instead, I went to the bedroom and grabbed the suitcase from under the bed. I started packing my essentials, my laptop, my toiletries, my passport, my birth certificate, a few outfits. I wasn't rushing. I folded everything neatly, deliberately. Each soft thump of clothing hitting the suitcase felt like the closing of a chapter. Dante followed me, shaking. "Nia, where are you going? Baby, don't leave. Please, please don't leave me." "I'm not leaving you," I said calmly, zipping the suitcase. "I'm removing myself from your chaos." I grabbed my purse. "I'll be staying with Imani." His whole face changed. "Imani? The divorce lawyer? The very one." "Nia, no. Don't do this. Please, we can fix this. I'm not fixing something you broke on purpose." I walked past him to the front door. He grabbed my arm. The second his fingers touched my skin, something inside me snapped. Not fear, not sadness, resolve. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "If you ever put your hands on me again, even by accident, you won't have to worry about losing your job. You'll worry about losing your freedom. Let go." He released me instantly. I opened the door. "Nia," he choked out. "I love you." I paused, just for a moment, because once upon a time, I believed him. Once upon a time, I trusted him with my life, my body, my future. But that man was gone, and the one standing in front of me wasn't worth the air he was breathing. "I loved who you pretended to be, not who you are." Then I walked out. I didn't look back. Not even when I heard him sobbing. I pressed the elevator button. The doors opened slowly, like they were giving me time to change my mind. But I'd made my decision long before tonight, long before Tiana showed up with her cupcake and cheaper intentions. This was just the moment my courage finally caught up to my truth. And when the elevator door slid shut, sealing Dante on the other side, that's when my phone buzzed. A message from Imani. "Come to my place. I already poured wine, and bring all the evidence." My heart dropped into a new kind of silence, because I suddenly realized I wasn't walking away from my old life. I was walking straight towards war.
Imani lived in a mid-rise off Peachtree, the kind of building with serious security and a concierge who knew everything but said nothing. By the time I pulled into the parking garage, my hands were shaking. Not from fear. Fear was something I'd burned through hours ago. This shaking came from the adrenaline of finally stepping into my freedom and the grief of watching a 10-year relationship die in front of me. When I stepped out of the car, the night air hit me like a cold slap. Buckhead lights glittered in the distance, the skyline reminding me of the life Dante and I had built, or at least the life I thought we'd built. I dragged my suitcase behind me across the polished concrete, each wheel clicking like a countdown, to the truth, to the consequences, to whatever came next. Imani was already in the doorway when I made it to her floor. She wore satin pajama bottoms and a Morehouse hoodie, her hair wrapped in a burgundy scarf. She took one look at my face and stepped aside without a word. That was the thing about her. She didn't need explanations. She read my soul like it was her job. I walked in. She shut the door, locked it, then hugged me, tight, long, like a sister. "You ready?" she whispered. I swallowed hard. "As ready as I'm gonna be." She pulled back and studied me. "You look steady. Too steady." I'm done crying. I'm done begging. I'm done pretending. "Good," she nodded sharply. "Because we're not handling this with emotion. We're handling this with precision." Her living room was already set up like a legal war room. Laptop open, notepad, sticky notes, 2 glasses of wine, one already half gone. Evidence spread across the coffee table like I was preparing for trial. "Sit," she said. I sat. She picked up the folder I'd brought. She flipped through the papers slowly, her eyes scanning every line. Not a single muscle in her face moved. When she finished, she placed the folder down like it was a bomb. "Naya," she said finally, "your husband committed 3 different categories of stupidity." I choked out a laugh. "Only 3? First stupidity, cheating with a coworker. Second stupidity, using corporate funds. And last but not least, the masterpiece, leaving a digital trail so sloppy even a toddler could follow it." The laugh that escaped me this time shook something loose inside my chest. Imani sat beside me and poured more wine. "Now tell me everything. Don't leave anything out, especially not the emotional stuff." So I told her. I told her about the text message, the cupcake, the plastic cup, the way Dante begged with his voice cracking like old wood. I told her about smashing the phone, dumping the oxtails, packing the suitcase. I told her about the receipts, how he used the company's money to take Tiana to dinner and a movie. Imani shook her head. He really thought he was the main character in a Tyler Perry plot gone wrong, didn't he? I gave a humorless smile. Then she asked the question I'd been avoiding all night. "Do you still love him?" The way she said it wasn't judgmental. It wasn't poking. It was surgical, direct, necessary. I stared at the wine swirling in my glass. "I don't know. Or maybe I do know, and I just hate the answer." Imani nodded slowly. "That's normal. You invested years, money, dreams. You didn't just marry Dante. You built a future around him. And he wrecked it. But none of that makes you weak." I exhaled shakily. "I'm scared of starting over." Everyone is. But you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from knowledge. I closed my eyes for a second, because that truth stung. It also soothed. Imani set her glass down and straightened up. "All right, let's talk strategy." She grabbed her laptop. "We're sending a whistleblower report." My heart skipped. "Tonight?" "Yes, ma'am," she typed quickly. "We're sending it to the CEO, the HR director, and the compliance department, with the receipts attached, of course." I felt a slow, sharp inhale crawl through my chest. This could ruin him. Imani looked me dead in the face. "He ruined himself. You're just dropping off the documentation." She wasn't wrong. Still, guilt twisted somewhere in my ribs. The old version of me, the loyal wife version, whispered that I should protect him, that I shouldn't destroy the man I once thought I'd grow old with. But the woman sitting here tonight, the woman who had been humiliated in her own home, wasn't protecting anybody who wouldn't protect her. I took a long sip of wine. "Do it." Imani smiled, soft but fierce. "Say less." She typed for several minutes straight, fingers moving like she had been waiting her whole career for a case this clean. She read the email out loud, professional, airtight, loaded with facts and timestamps. Then she attached the files. "Before I send this," she said, "I need you to answer one more question." I turned toward her. "What? Do you want revenge or justice?" I went still, because the old version of me craved revenge, the kind of fiery, dramatic, show-stopping scene that would make every betrayal hurt a little less. But the woman staring at the laptop screen tonight, she wanted justice. Quiet, permanent, undeniable. So I said justice. Imani nodded once. Then, without hesitation, she hit send. My stomach dropped like an elevator putt loose. It was done. Irreversible. Imani sat back. By the time Dante wakes up tomorrow, his entire career will be on fire. I breathed deeply. My chest expanded with something that felt almost like relief. Almost. "That's phase 1, she said. "Now for phase 2. "What's phase 2? She turned toward me, a slow smile forming, equal parts brilliant and dangerous. "Tomorrow morning, you're filing for divorce." I exhaled shakily. My hands trembled. "Naya," she added softly, "you're not losing a man. You're gaining yourself." I nodded, my throat tight, my heart heavy, my spirit rising. But before I could say anything, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. A new message from Dante. "Where are you? Please come home. I can't breathe." Imani and I exchanged a long, silent look, because neither of us knew it yet, but that message was just the beginning of the storm.
Kushi woke up the next morning with the echo of last night's strange encounter still humming in her chest. The folded note, "Return what isn't yours," sat on her bedside table like a warning she couldn't ignore. But she forced herself through the motions of her day anyway. Shower, toast, packed bag, telling herself she was overthinking. Madison and Zoya would laugh if they knew she was losing sleep over a piece of paper. Still, something was wrong. At school, the winter air felt sharper than usual, like every breath carried a whisper. Students rushed past, wrapped in hoodies and beanies, talking about exams, gossip, weekend plans. Everything looked normal, but Kushi's steps slowed when she reached her locker, because her locker was already slightly open. She never left it open. A chill flit under her skin. She touched the cold metal, hesitated, then gently pulled it wider. Inside, everything looked untouched. Books stacked neatly, her water bottle, a picture of her family. Except a single feather rested on top of her notebooks, pure white, smooth, unrealistically perfect. It wasn't there yesterday. Before she could react, Madison appeared behind her, slurping bubble tea. "Girl, why do you look like you saw a ghost?" she laughed. Kushi swallowed. "Someone opened my locker." Madison frowned. "What? Did they take something?" Kushi shook her head. "No, they left this." She held up the feather. Madison's expression changed instantly, from light teasing to sharp curiosity. "Okay, wait, that's weird." Before they could examine it further, Zoya rushed up, face flushed. "You guys, did something happen to you today too?" Kushi's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Zoya held up her phone. The screen showed an anonymous message. "The exchange has begun." Kushi froze. Madison's jaw dropped. "The exchange?" Madison whispered, "Exchange of what?" Kushi looked down at the feather again.
so white it almost glowed in the hallway light. And then she remembered the eyes from last night, the ones that shimmered like starlight. The voice had said she'd taken something that wasn't hers. Suddenly, she wasn't sure the stranger had been human at all. Before she could explain, the overhead lights flickered once, twice, and every student stopped talking at the same time. The hallway fell silent. The air felt charged, electric. Then all the lights went out. A rush of cold wind swept through the corridor, indoors, where wind shouldn't exist at all. And then, in the darkness, Kushi heard a whisper, not from next to her, not from behind her, but from inside her mind. Time is running out. Kushi clutched the feather tightly as the lights snapped back on. Students screamed, teachers panicked, alarms blared, chaos everywhere. But Kushi didn't move, because the feather in her hand was no longer white. It was glowing gold and burning warm, like it was alive.
The gold glow pulsed against Kushi's palm, soft at first, then stronger, like a heartbeat syncing with her own. She flinched and nearly dropped it, but her fingers refused to let go, as if the feather itself held on to her. Madison stared wide-eyed. "Tell me that's a prank. Please tell me that's a prank." Zoya shook her head, backing up a step. "No prank glows, Maddie, and no prank shuts off every light in the whole school." Around them, students babbled in panic. Teachers shouting, footsteps rushing, everyone assuming it was a power issue. But Kushi knew better. The feather wasn't just glowing. It was heating up and vibrating, almost breathing. Kushi swallowed hard. "We need to get out of here." Madison grabbed her sleeve. "Are you okay? You're shaking." But Kushi wasn't okay. Something was coming. Something connected to the stranger from that night. Something connected to her. They rushed outside into the cold December air. The moment the sunlight hit the feather, the gold dimmed, but didn't disappear. Instead, the gold shimmer sank beneath the surface like molten metal cooling. Zoya looked around anxiously. "What even is that thing?" Kushi exhaled shakily. I think it belongs to him." "The guy with the eyes?" Madison asked, voice lowering. Kushi nodded. "You think he put it in your locker?" "No," Kushi whispered. "I think someone else did." Before they could process that, a sudden weight pressed on the air like the atmosphere thickened. The wind stilled. Birds went silent. Even the distant traffic muted. Then, a sharp, slicing sound tore through the air above them. Swoosh! All three looked up. A shadow swept across the sky, not shaped like a plane, or drone, or bird. Something enormous, with wings that glimmered like fractured moonlight. Madison gasped. "What was that?" But the shadow disappeared behind the rooftops as fast as it came, leaving the sky perfectly normal again. Zoya's voice shook. "Kushi, I think we're in something way bigger than we thought." Kushi opened her hand again. The gold shimmer flickered back to life, stronger now, as if responding to whatever flew overhead. Then, the feather twisted slightly. Not from the wind, not from her movement, on its own. And a whisper vibrated through her bones. "Return me." Kushi stumbled back, nearly dropping it. Madison and Zoya panicked. "What happened?" It spoke." Both of them froze, and then Kushi saw it, on the quill, faint but forming,
glowing letters etching themselves into the feather's surface. One word: midnight. Cushy's breath hitched. What happens at midnight? Zoya grabbed her shoulders. Cushy, what did you get yourself into? But Cushy didn't know. All she knew was one thing. Midnight wasn't far, and whatever she was supposed to return, she didn't even know she had.
The rest of the school day dragged like a nightmare running in slow motion. Cushy barely heard her teachers, barely touched her lunch, barely spoke, except when Madison nudged her to drink water and Zoya elbowed her every time she drifted into a daze. But nothing helped. Not when the feather kept pulsing through her backpack like a second heartbeat. By 3:15 p.m., she was exhausted, mentally, physically, spiritually. She just needed to get home. Madison linked her arm with hers as they left school. We're coming with you, she said firmly. Zoya nodded. No way you're facing glowing bird weapons alone. Cushy didn't argue. She didn't have the energy. They reached the quiet residential street just before her apartment complex when the air changed again. Same heavy, dense pressure as before, like the atmosphere itself inhaled and forgot to exhale. Madison whispered, "Oh no, not again." Zoya gripped her hand. Then, a figure stepped out from behind a large oak tree. Tall, structured shoulders, dark clothing that looked normal from afar, but shimmered strangely up close, and eyes. Silver, an impossible metallic silver, exactly like the night she found the feather. Cushy froze mid-step. Her heartbeat stopped, restarted, then sprinted. Madison whispered, "Cushy, that's him." Zoya pulled out her phone, ready to call 911. But the man lifted one hand, not threateningly, more like pleading. "Cushy," he said softly. Her name sounded different in his voice, smoother, older, as if he had said it many times before. Cushy's throat tightened. "How do you know my name?" He exhaled slowly, relieved she spoke. "I called for you that night. You heard me." Zoya hissed under her breath, "Run! We need to run!" But Cushy didn't move. His eyes locked on her backpack. "You have something of mine, something you picked up by accident." Madison stepped between them. "Back up! She's not giving you anything!" He didn't even look at Madison. His gaze stayed on Cushy, soft but intense. "You must return it by midnight, or it will no longer be safe for you, for any of you." Cushy swallowed. "Why? What happens at midnight?" He hesitated. Pain flickered across his face. "Because at midnight, the boundary opens." A chill shot down Cushy's spine. What boundary? The man stepped closer, eyes dimming like a storm rolling in. The boundary between your world and mine. The wind whipped suddenly around them, violent, cold, unnatural. Madison screamed. Zoya grabbed Cushy's arm. The man held out his hand. "Please, Cushy, give it to me." Cushy slowly, reluctantly reached for the zipper of her backpack. But then, a sudden boom echoed overhead. Not thunder. Something heavier. Something that rattled windows and made birds erupt into a panicked flight. The man's eyes widened in fear, not at them, but at the sky. He whispered, "They found you."
And then he grabbed Kushi's wrist. Madison lunged forward. "Hey!" But before she could finish shouting, everything exploded into white light. The light swallowed everything, sound, color, gravity, until Kushi couldn't tell where her body ended and the world began. It felt like being pulled through water and wind at the same time, as if every molecule of her was stretching into threads. She tried to scream, but even her voice dissolved into the brightness. Then, just as violently, everything slammed back into place. Floor, air, cold stone, her own heartbeat thundering in her skull. Kushi coughed as he pushed herself upright. Spots danced across her vision, and the world felt tilted, glitching at the edges like a video buffering on weak Wi-Fi. Her palms scraped rough tiles, stone, not pavement, not home, not her neighborhood. A wide marble hall stretched in front of her, lit by torches that burned blue instead of orange. Every flame swayed toward her as if they recognized her arrival. Giant pillars carved with strange symbols lined the walls. The air felt ancient, dusty, cold, charged with something that made her skin buzz. Madison's scream cut through the silence. "Kushi, where are we? What did he do?" Kushi whipped her head around. Madison and Zoya were sprawled beside her, faces pale, breathing hard. Both of them stared at the glowing blue flames with pure terror. But the man with the silver eyes was nowhere in sight. Kushi scrambled to her feet. "Madison, Zoya, are you hurt?" Zoya shook her head quickly, but her voice trembled. No, I'm fine. But this, Kushi, this is not Earth. This looks like some medieval castle Hogwarts situation, and I am not okay." Madison grabbed Kushi's arm. "He teleported us. That dude literally teleported us. What if this is hell? Oh my God, are we dead? Kushi, are we dead?" Before Kushi could reassure them, a deep rumbling echoed through the hall. The ground vibrated beneath their feet as if something enormous was approaching. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The torches flickered once, twice, then steadied again. Kushi's heart pounded. The man had said they found her. Who were they? And why did he bring her here? Before she could piece anything together, footsteps approached from the other end of the hall. Rapid, determined, echoing sharply against the stone. A tall figure emerged from the shadows. Not the silver-eyed man. This one was dressed in dark armor, a metallic breastplate shaped with ridges like wings. A long black cloak swept the floor behind him. His eyes, deep red like embers, locked onto Kushi the moment he saw her. And he smiled. The kind of smile predators give before they strike. Well, he said, smooth as oil. The runaway has delivered herself. Madison whispered, "Nope, no, absolutely not. He looks like he eats people for breakfast." Zoya clutched Kushi's sleeve. "Kushi, do not move." But the man in armor stepped closer, examining her like she was a rare artifact. "You carry his feather," he murmured. "Of all the humans in all the realms, why would he let you touch it?" Kushi instinctively reached for her backpack and froze. The backpack wasn't beside her. It was already in the armored man's hand. He held it up casually, like he'd taken it without her even noticing. "Looking for this?" he asked. Kushi's stomach dropped. The feather, glowing gold, was inside that backpack. "Give it back," Kushi forced out, her voice shaking. Bold, but misguided. He reached into the bag, pulled out the feather, and the hall filled with radiance.
Even the flames dimmed in comparison. The feather pulsed, alive, powerful, as if aware it wasn't being held by the right person. The man flinched. A small burn seared across his palm where the feather touched him. He hissed. So it rejects me. Of course it does. He turned his burning red gaze on Kushi again, more curious now. You. Come with me. Madison stepped in front of Kushi, over my dead body. He snapped his fingers. A shockwave of force blasted outward. Madison and Zoya were thrown backward, sliding across the floor like rag dolls. They hit a pillar and crumpled, groaning in pain, but still conscious. Kushi screamed, "Stop! Let them go!" "Oh, I will," he said calmly, "once you obey." Kushi's pulse raced so fast she thought she'd faint. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But she didn't have the feather. She didn't know where the silver-eyed man was, and she didn't know what this monster wanted. The armored man extended his hand. "Walk to me. Do not make me drag you." Kushi took a shaky step back. His eyes sharpened. "You dare refuse?" The ground split open beneath her feet, cracks glowing with red-hot light. Just when it seemed the floor would swallow her alive, a sonic boom shook the entire hall. Wind exploded inward, violent and roaring. The torches blew out simultaneously. Darkness fell. Then, a voice thundered through the hall. "Step away from her." Kushi's breath froze in her lungs. The blue flames reignited, one by one, illuminating the silver-eyed man standing between her and the armored monster. His presence filled the hall with blinding light and swirling wind. His cloak whipped around him, and golden patterns glowed along his arms like molten metal. His expression was nothing like before. No softness, no gentleness. This was someone ancient, dangerous, overflowing with power. The armored men laughed coldly. "Finally showing your true form. Touch her again, and I will end you." Their powers collided in the space between them, light against darkness, sending crackles of energy sparking across the marble. Madison and Zoya crawled to Kushi, trembling. "Kushi, we are so unbelievably screwed." Kushi grabbed both their hands, eyes wide, heart trembling with fear. Because now she finally understood. The man with the silver eyes wasn't just protecting the feather. He was protecting her. And whatever she had gotten involved in was so much bigger and far more dangerous than she ever imagined.
The moment the silver-eyed man stepped between me and that armored monster, something inside me shifted. I don't know if it was fear, relief, or the shock of realizing just how deeply I'd fallen into something I didn't understand. But I felt it, like the air was rearranging itself around me. And yet, somehow, I was still standing there, staring, trembling, breathing like the world was collapsing in slow motion. But this time, I'll tell it in my own voice, because that's the only way any of this makes sense. The first thing I remember was the sound, this deep, vibrating hum that grew louder with every heartbeat. The blue fire torches around us flickered and leaned toward him like they recognized him, or worshipped him. And me? I could barely breathe. The moment his body shielded mine, heat rushed across my skin, almost like he'd wrapped me in invisible wings. I didn't know whether to trust him,
fear him or run from both of these men entirely, but I knew one thing for sure. Whatever he really was, he wasn't human. The armored man, those ember-red eyes still glowing, lifted his chin at me as if I were a prize someone had stolen from his table. "She belongs to the rift," he growled. "Hand her over." She belongs. Not the girl, not the human, not your friend. She. Me. Kushi. I felt Madison press against my arm, whispering, "Girl, we have got to stop hanging around you. Your life is a Marvel movie and we're extras." Zoya clung to me on the other side, breath shaking. But he, this silver-eyed stranger, never turned around, never looked back at me, never checked to see if I was okay. He just glowed. Like every emotion he'd been hiding since the moment I met him was suddenly burning on the surface. "You won't touch her again," he said, voice lower, darker, like it could shake mountains. The armored man laughed, a sound like metal grinding. "What will you do?" he sneered. "You abandoned your throne. You abandoned your duty. And now you protect a mortal girl who doesn't even know what she carries?" My stomach twisted so hard I felt sick. Mortal girl. What she carries? I didn't know what any of that meant. I wanted to ask. God knows I wanted answers. But the air between those two was so heavy it made my bones ache. The silver-eyed man raised his hand and the golden cracks along his skin brightened. "This is your last warning." The armored man didn't wait. He lunged. The world exploded. Wind, light, force, everything collided in a shockwave so violent that I, Madison, and Zoya were thrown backward again. But this time, the silver-eyed man spun and snapped his fingers, and a shield of shimmering light wrapped around us before we hit the wall. My body still shook, but I didn't crumble. I watched them clash. God help me, it was beautiful. Feeds of white gold energy rippled from his palms, clashing with the armored man's red-black streaks of darkness. Every impact cracked the floor beneath them. Symbols on the pillars glowed blue. The torches shot higher like the flames themselves were panicking. And all I could think was one thing. Why me? Why would someone so powerful drag me into this? Why would another try to kidnap me? Why did touching that feather change everything? Madison grabbed my shoulder, voice shaky. "Kushi, when we get home, if we get home, you're not allowed to pick up any glowing objects, ever again. I don't care if it's a dollar bill, we're leaving it." Zoya groaned. This isn't the time, but the way her voice wavered told me she was seconds from crying. My own voice cracked as I whispered, "Why is he doing this? Why is any of this happening?" Zoya swallowed hard. "Kushi, he said the feather rejects that armored guy. That means it accepted you. That means she was chosen." A new voice came from the shadows behind us. I spun so fast I almost slipped. 3 robed women stepped forward, tall, graceful, and glowing faintly with the same blue fire as the torches. Their eyes were clouded, milky, like they were blind, but the way each turned her face toward me told me they saw perfectly well. One of them lifted her hand, and the feather, still glowing gold, tore itself from the armored man's grip and flew into her palm. He screamed. The silver-eyed man didn't hesitate.
He slammed both hands forward, sending a wave of blazing white force that sent the armored monster crashing into a pillar. The robed woman held out the feather toward me. "You feel its call, don't you?" she murmured. "It has already bound itself to your spirit." Bound. Bound. The word hit me in the chest like a punch. I felt heat rush up my arm, just like the first time I touched the feather, and a pulse shuddered through my body. The robed woman stepped close enough that I could feel her breath on my cheek. "You are the first mortal in centuries it has chosen." My knees buckled. Madison caught me. "Oh no, nope, this is too much. Kushi girl, I love you, but we are going home." The robed woman shook her head slowly. "Home is no longer safe. Not for her. Not anymore." The silver-eyed man, still glowing like a cracked star, finally turned toward me. And when he looked at me, really looked at me, his expression wasn't cold. It wasn't distant. It wasn't unreadable. It was fear. Not for him. For me. "Kushi," he said, voice softer than I'd ever heard it, "you have to come with me, now, before more rift hunters arrive." Before I could speak, before I could breathe, before I could even decide whether I trusted him, the entire hall began to shake. Pillars cracked, flames bowed, the ceiling split, Zoya screamed, Madison shouted my name, and the silver-eyed man grabbed my hand, his skin burning hot, his eyes burning brighter, his voice breaking like he hated what he was about to say. "Kushi, I'm sorry." Before I could ask why, the floor collapsed beneath us, and we fell. Together. I didn't know falling could feel like being swallowed whole. It wasn't like the drop on a roller coaster or the moment your foot misses a stair. No, this was bottomless, crushing, endless. Wind tore at my skin, my hair whipped around my face, and the silver-eyed man's grip on my hand squeezed tighter and tighter until my fingers went numb. Madison and Zoya's screams vanished above me as the darkness swallowed us. I would have screamed too, if my throat worked. But all I could do was hold on. Hold on to him. Hold on to consciousness. Hold on to the one thread of light that started glowing around our joined hands. Soft gold, pulsing like a heartbeat. His heartbeat. It resonated through me like we were connected by more than just skin. "Kushi, focus on my voice," he shouted over the roar. "Do not let go." I wanted to yell back, "I'm not stupid," but nothing came out. My lungs burned. My tears streamed upward from the force of the fall. "What is happening?" I finally choked out. "We're between realms," he yelled. "You weren't supposed to fall with me. This is too dangerous for a mortal." "Then why did you pull me?" His voice cracked. "Because leaving you there would have killed you." My stomach twisted so hard I thought I'd vomit. The shadows around us shifted like a storm of ink. Dark shapes slithered through the void, whispering in a language that crawled under my skin. I dug my nails into his palm. "If this is between realms," I gasped, "where are we going?" He didn't look at me. He looked below. And what I saw was impossible. A glowing surface rushed up beneath us, silver, rippling like water and light at the same time. It stretched into a horizon that felt endless, reflecting the sky like a broken mirror. He pulled me against his chest. "Brace yourself." We slammed into the surface. Except we didn't break it. We sunk. Cold wrapped around me instantly, icy, electric, numbing every nerve in my body. We fell through the glowing liquid like it was a womb of light, and for a second, I lost every sense I had. Then we crashed onto solid ground. I rolled to my side, coughing hard, my lungs burning as if I had inhaled lightning. The world around me flickered, blurry at first, then sharpening into a shape I could barely process. We were in a forest made of light. Silver-leafed trees hummed with faint music. The sky above was a gradient of lavender and gold. The air felt alive, vibrating with a warmth so gentle it made my skin tingle. I pushed myself onto my elbows, shivering. What is this place? He didn't answer immediately. He looked devastated, bent over, hands on his knees, breathing hard in a way I'd never seen him breathe before. His glow dimmed until only faint cracks of gold traced his skin. "Are you hurt?" I whispered. He turned to me slowly. "No, but you shouldn't be here." His jaw clenched. "This was never meant for you." I stared silently. I wasn't sure which hurt more, my bruised body or the ache in his voice. I said, "You saved me." He closed his eyes, face twisted. "You think I had a choice?" "Didn't you?" My voice broke. "You always act like I'm some burden you didn't ask for, but you keep saving me. So which is it?" His eyes snapped open, bright silver, sharper than ever. He breathed. "You don't understand. If the feather has chosen you, everything changes. Everything." The silver trees around us rustled, like they were listening. I swallowed hard. "Then explain it, please. I deserve to know." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing in a tight circle. "You weren't supposed to touch it. You weren't supposed to follow me. The moment it bonded to you, the Rift Hunters marked you. They will never stop. Never." Bonded. Marked. My skin crawled. I didn't ask for this. I know. He stopped pacing, his expression softening. But the feather did. Silence. Just the trees humming. I hugged my arms around myself. What does the feather want with me? He hesitated. Too long. That's what I'm afraid of. My chest tightened. And before I could push, before I could demand more, branches cracked somewhere behind us. We both froze. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me behind him. "Stay close," he murmured. "We're not alone." The forest shifted, shadows sliding between the trees like figures circling prey. My heartbeat hammered. "Are those Rift Hunters?" "No," he whispered, lowering his stance. "Worse." A figure stepped out from the trees, tall, cloaked in silver armor, face hidden behind a mask etched with symbols that glowed faintly. The masked figure tilted its head at me. "At last, the Myrtle girl who carries the feather. You've caused quite a stir." I felt the silver-eyed man tense. "Back, away from her," he growled. The masked figure ignored him, its glowing gaze focused solely on me. "You should not have come to Lumine, but now that you are here, you must choose." I swallowed hard, throat tight. "Choose what?" The masked warrior raised a hand. Light gathered in its palm. "Choose whether you will become its bearer." The tree shook. "Or its sacrifice." My breath caught in my chest. I didn't move. Nobody did. Then the warrior took one slow step toward me, and the ground lit up beneath my feet. A circle of symbols spiraled outward, glowing gold. My body locked. My heartbeat echoed in the air. The silver-eyed man shouted my name, but the world was already tilting, spinning, falling, as the circle swallowed me whole. The moment the golden circle swallowed me, the forest, the masked warrior, and even the silver-eyed man vanished like someone had ripped the scenery off a stage. My stomach lurched. and I felt myself hurtle upward, as if the ground had turned into a slingshot, firing me straight into the sun. Then, everything stopped. Light wrapped around me, not harsh or burning, but warm, almost like the first morning sun streaming through a bedroom window. I blinked as shapes formed around me, a vast circular chamber made entirely of glass. No walls, no ceiling, just sky in every direction, swirling gold and blue like a living painting. I was floating, literally floating. My feet weren't touching anything, and my hair drifted around my head as if I were underwater. Light pulsed under me, forming a soft platform that held me like an invisible cradle. My voice came out as a whisper. "Where am I?" A soft hum vibrated through my bones. Then, a figure materialized in front of me. Not the silver-eyed man, not the masked warrior, not any human shape at all. It looked like a woman crafted from pure light, thin threads of gold woven into a body, a face, and long flowing hair that flickered like flames. Her eyes were two radiant orbs with no pupils, but somehow they felt gentle. She spoke without opening her mouth. Kushi. I froze. Hearing my name echoed in that endless sky made my chest tighten. Who are you? I am the memory of the feather, a remnant of what once was, a guide for those chosen. Chosen for what? I didn't choose anything. I was just trying to get home. She drifted closer, her form shimmering. The feather saw you. It felt you before you touched it. And when you laid your hand upon it, you awakened a bond older than the realms themselves. I didn't awaken anything, I insisted, panic rising. You don't understand. I'm not special. I'm not magical. I'm not even brave most days. I'm just me. Her light dimmed, as if saddened. Strength is rarely found in those who believe they already possess it. Before I could respond, the chamber shifted. Images flashed in the sky around us, glimpses of the silver-eyed man fighting the armored monster, of Madison and Zoya huddled together in the forest, of the masked warrior watching me vanish. And then, scenes I didn't recognize. A city of silver towers burning, wings of fire collapsing into ash, a throne shattering under the weight of darkness, a child crying as she held a dim golden feather. "What is this?" I whispered. "History," the light woman replied. "His history." My heart thudded painfully. Whose? "The one you call the silver-eyed man." The pictures sharpened. He was younger here, maybe in his 20s, standing at the center of a collapsing city, wings of radiant white glowing behind him. He looked terrified, broken, surrounded by creatures of shadow and flame. He was the protector of the feather, its guardian, its chosen, until the rift consumed his home. My breath hitched. He lost everything. Everyone. A new vision appeared. The silver-eyed man kneeling among ruins, his body cracked with light, clutching the feather to his chest as tears of molten gold fell down his face. He carried the feather alone for centuries, until the day it dimmed in his hands. The image of him, kneeling, devastated, stabbed something deep in my chest. Why did it dim? She turned toward me, her golden hair flickering. Because it was waiting for someone new, someone not of his world, someone whose spirit could withstand what is coming. I stepped back, legs shaking. No, no, you've got the wrong person. I can't even handle my own life half the time. I lose my keys, I spill drinks, I can't fight monsters or run through magical worlds. I don't belong in this. You belong exactly where you are. You think your life before this was random, but everything, your courage, your heartbreak, your choices, led you here. Her hand reached toward me, though it never fully solidified. Kushi, you were chosen not because you are perfect, but because you endure. My throat tightened as tears blurred the glowing sky. I just want my friends. I just want to go home. You will, but not unchanged. The chamber suddenly trembled, and cracks of red spread across the glowing glass beneath us. The light woman stiffened. They've found you. A voice pierced the air, dark and metallic. Bring her to me. The masked warrior. His shadow spread across the sky like a stain, and the glass chamber began to shatter, pieces floating away into the void. The light woman placed her hand over my heart. Kushi, listen to me. The feather chose you because you have something no realm can create. What do I have? Humanity. The ability to love, to break, to rise again. That is the power the rift fears. The chamber shattered completely. I fell, plunging through open sky, wind screaming past my ears. As the world rushed up to meet me, her final words echoed like a heartbeat. You are not a sacrifice. You are the bearer. Then hands caught me. Strong hands, burning hot hands. I gasped, A's snapping open, and saw the silver-eyed man holding me against his chest as we hurtled through the collapsing forest. His face was etched with panic. Kushi, I thought I lost you. But before I could answer, the masked warrior appeared directly in our path, and this time, he drew a blade of pure shadow.
The shadow blade sliced downward so fast that the air itself seemed to scream. The silver-eyed man twisted, clutching me protectively as he leapt onto a fallen tree trunk, boots grinding against bark as we skidded through scattered leaves. The masked warrior didn't chase. He simply appeared. One blink, he was 10 meters away. The next blink, he was an arm's length in front of us. His voice was a cold whisper behind iron. Hand her over. Now. The silver-eyed man's grip tightened around me. I felt the tremor in his arms, not fear. Fury. She's not yours, he growled. The masked warrior tilted his head, the metallic mask catching the faint light. She is the bearer, by right and by prophecy. She is not a weapon, the silver-eyed man snapped. You don't get to decide that, the masked warrior replied, Shadowblade rising again. The rift has awakened, the worlds are collapsing, and she, his mask turned to me, is the only anchor capable of sealing it. My pulse thundered in my ears. Anchor? I rasped. What does that mean? What do you want from me? The masked warrior's answer was a soft, almost gentle. Your existence. A cold shock shot through me. The silver-eyed man moved instantly, pulling me behind him as he summoned a shield of white fire around us. Shadow met light with a deafening roar, sparks blasting outward like exploding stars. The forest shook, branches fell, the sky itself wavered. The silver-eyed man hissed, pushing his power harder, arms trembling as the shadow blade pressed against the white fire barrier. I'd never seen him struggle like this. "You're weaker than before," the masked warrior observed, voice like an amused growl. "The feather has made its choice. The bond is shifting." His blade plunged deeper, cracking the shield. The silver-eyed man staggered. "Kushi? Run!" "No!" My voice came out sharper than I expected. "I'm not leaving you!" His eyes, silver with streaks of gold, snapped to mine. For a fraction of a second, the world stopped. Then silenced, he whispered. "Then stay behind me." The shadow blade shattered the shield with a thunderous crack. The shockwave hurled us backward. I hit the ground hard, rolling across dirt and leaves before slamming into a tree stump. Pain tore through my shoulder. The silver-eyed man landed in a crouch, blood trickling from the side of his mouth. The masked warrior appeared again, silent, relentless, blade raised for the final strike. He moved so fast, I couldn't even scream. But the silver-eyed man was faster. His palm struck the ground. "Stay back." A column of blinding white energy tore upward, slamming into the masked warrior and driving him through 3 trees before he finally skidded to a stop. His mask cracked, steam rising from the impact. For the first time, he looked humanly injured. The silver-eyed man rushed to me. "Kushi, are you hurt?" "My shoulder. Just bruised, I think." He touched my arm and flinched in relief. "Good. Listen carefully. When he recovers, he won't attack again. Not until the shadow reforms. We have minutes, maybe less." "Then tell me what I am," I said breathlessly. "What does bearer mean? What is the rift? Why does he want me?" His jaw tightened. "I wanted to explain when you were ready." "I'm ready now," I insisted. "I need to know." He looked away, silver eyes flickering with something like guilt. "The feather is a living relic. It chooses one being every cycle, a heart strong enough to hold the balance between worlds, your world, mine, and the void in between." "Balance?" I echoed. "But I don't have any powers." "You do now," he murmured. "You carry a piece of the feather's essence." My breath froze. "That's why you felt the pull, why the chamber showed you its memory, why the masked warrior can sense you." I shook my head. "But why me?" His voice softened. "Because you feel deeply, because you believe stubbornly, because you keep trying even when everything breaks. The feather saw a heart that endures." A shiver ran down my spine. Something warm pulsed in my chest, faint, but undeniable, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. "So the masked warrior wants to use you as a seal." His tone darkened. "He believes to sacrifice is the only path." "And you?" I whispered. "I believe you deserve to live." His fingers brushed my cheek gently, as if afraid I might shatter. Before I could answer, a crunch echoed from the shadows. The masked warrior stood up. Mask cracked, armor scorched, shadow curling from his arms like smoke. His voice was hoarse with rage. "You're out of time." He vanished again. This time, he appeared behind me. The silver-eyed man shouted, "Kushi!" I spun. Too slow. The shadow blade stabbed toward my heart and stopped. Not because he missed, not because the silver-eyed man blocked it, but because something inside me ignited. A burst of gold erupted from my chest, forming a circular barrier like the sun itself. The blade struck it and recoiled, hissing, melting at the edges. The masked warrior staggered backward, shocked. The Silverite man stared at me breathlessly. "You awakened it," he whispered. "The bond. It's already taking form." My hands trembled as glowing threads of gold coiled around my fingers like tiny living feathers. I didn't mean to." "You didn't have to. It responded to your fear, to your will." The masked warrior regained his footing slowly, his voice low and dangerous. "So, the feather has chosen its vessel." He lifted the melted remains of his blade, which dripped like black tar. "Then I will simply take you by force." He extended his hand. Shadows poured forward like a tidal wave. The Silverite man grabbed me, pulling me tightly against him. "Kushi, look at me." His forehead pressed to mine. His voice broke. "When this hits, trust me." The shadow wave crashed into us, and everything dissolved into blinding white. The world disappeared. The forest, the masked warrior, the ground beneath our feet. It all shattered as the Silverite man pulled me into a completely different realm. A realm of floating gold, shattered time, and a sky that breathed. Where he whispered, "This is the only place he cannot reach."
Light swallowed everything. When the world finally stopped spinning, my feet rested on nothing. No ground, no sky, no horizon. Just a glowing expanse where gold threads drifted in slow spirals, each one humming like faint music. The air felt soft, warm, alive. I gasped, "Where are we?" The silver-eyed man, still holding my wrist, exhaled shakily, his chest rising with the weight of exhaustion. He murmured, "The Interstice, a pocket realm between worlds. Time here moves differently. He cannot enter unless summoned." I blinked around. "Summoned? You mean someone could bring him in?" He said softly, "You." My stomach dropped. "Oh." He stepped closer, silver eyes glowing faintly in the golden haze. "Kushi." His voice was soft, so soft that it fractured something inside my chest. "You're not alone. The feather didn't just choose you, it bonded you." "But I don't know how to use it," I whispered. "You don't need to. It will respond to your choices, your instincts." He touched his heart, then mine. The bond is shared. What happens to you echoes in me. A warm pulse ran through my chest, matching the rhythm in his, like two heartbeats syncing. For the first time, I asked the question that had been haunting me since the chamber. "Who are you really?" His eyes darkened with something ancient, something aching. "I am the feather's guardian, a role passed through centuries. My duty is to protect the bearer. But this isn't just duty," I said quietly. "Not the way you look at me." Silence. Heavy. Full. Unavoidable. Finally, he whispered, "You're right. It isn't." The golden realm dimmed slightly, as if leaning closer to hear. But before I could ask more, the air trembled violently. A ripple. Then another. The silver-eyed man grabbed my shoulders. No, this shouldn't be happening. What's wrong?" "The rift is destabilizing faster than I thought. It's pulling on your energy, even from here." The golden threads whipped around us like frantic sparks. A deep rumble echoed through the interstice. "Can we stop it?" I asked, heart pounding. "We can, but you won't like how." That tone, the one I had come to recognize, the tone of sacrifice. "Tell me," I demanded. He swallowed hard. "You are the anchor. If you release your awakened energy fully, the rift will close, permanently." "That sounds good, but it will burn out your connection to this realm, to me, to everything beyond your world." I froze. "Meaning?"
He looked away, jaw tight. You'll lose all power, all memory of this. The feather will sleep within you. You'll return to your world as if nothing happened. And you? I whispered. His expression shattered. I will cease. My existence depends on the feather being active. If it sleeps, I fade. A sharp, lancing pain cut through my chest. So I close the rift and you die? Yes. And if I don't, your world collapses. The golden realm flickered violently. Cracks of darkness snaked across the edges, spreading faster every second. Time was gone. The choice wasn't something I could run from. I took a breath. Then the answer is obvious. Kushi. Don't try to stop me, I said, stepping toward the pulsing heart of the interstice. You protected me. You fought for me. I choose to fight for my world and for you. He grabbed my wrist, desperate. If you do this, you will forget me. I won't, I whispered. Even if my mind forgets, my soul won't. His breath trembled. You don't understand what you're losing. You, I said softly. I'm losing you. A tear slipped down his cheek. Not glowing, not magical, just human. I cupped his face. Come closer. He leaned in. Our foreheads pressed. His breath mingled with mine. He whispered, remember that somewhere beyond your memories, I loved you. And remember that I chose you. Golden light exploded beneath us, swirling upward in a spiraling storm. The interstice roared as I stepped into its core. The silver-eyed man shouted my name, Kushi! I reached back. Our fingers brushed. Then the light consumed everything. When my eyes opened, I was lying in my bedroom. The morning sun filtered through my curtains. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. My heart felt heavy, like I'd cried in my sleep, but I didn't know why. I sat up slowly. Something gold glimmered faintly on my wrist, a tiny feather-shaped mark that pulsed once, then went still. A voice echoed faintly in my mind, broken, fading. Somewhere I loved you. I pressed my fingers to the mark, tears rising without explanation. I don't know who you are, but I miss you. Far away, in a realm no longer connected, a silver-eyed being dissolved into soft golden dust, whispering my name with his last breath. And the worlds remained safe, because I chose to save them. Because I chose him, even if I lost everything along the way.